I am beyond scared right now about this whole thing, and I need confirmation that I'm not going insane. So, some backstory: I recently moved into a new apartment with a new roommate. The roommate that I had before my current one was one that I actually had the chance to meet via FaceTime given this whole pandemic thing going on, but things ended up not working out, and I needed to find a roommate at the absolute last minute. I made a posting on basically all the websites for a roommate: Facebook, Craigslist, Twitter, and even on my neighborhood's subreddit. In less than 2 hours from when I made my post, I got a response from someone named Hazel. She reached out and said she could move in immediately and pay off half of the deposits I paid so I could take less of a loss. Her only caveat was she had a pet bird that she would keep in her room and that I was not allowed to enter her room no matter what. She said she could move in the next day. I figured that was fine as long as the bird wasn't noisy or anything and that it was kept in her room. I didn't want to deal with the risk of stepping in random bird poop, you know? The room thing was also, to me, a bit of a given because I can't imagine needing a reason to go in there. We talked a bit more and she told me she was going to school to study philosophy, but it was night classes so she would be gone most of the night. When I asked which school she was going to, she said it was a private institution that not many people have heard of. Weird, but okay. Fast forward to a week later and I am noticing some odd things. Before I get into that, let me say I did spend about 2 nights in the apartment by myself, and nothing odd happened. It may not be a lot to go on, but I feel it's long enough to get an idea and feel for the apartment, as well as the noises it makes, and the overall atmosphere of the place. Nothing freaky happened that entire time. When my roommate moved in, I wasn't home. I was finishing some final paperwork and setting up the utilities as she unloaded her stuff, if she even had stuff to unload. So, I basically haven't had the chance to see her yet. While I was out, she texted me that she was moved in, but she had to go to class soon so she was going to rest and to not disturb her. I agreed and said I would leave her be. As I walked past her room, I heard her bird. The first weird thing I've noticed is my roommate never leaves her room during the day. Not even to get something to eat or go to the bathroom. I would have heard her door open and close since our rooms are relatively close together, and I have been working from home due to the pandemic. The only time she leaves is around 2:30 at night. I hear both her bedroom door and the front door open and close. I usually pass out by the time she gets back, but out of curiosity, I stayed up and she got back around 6 o'clock. I don't know if this is an everyday thing, but it's something to go on. Another thing is I noticed an awful odor in the apartment just these past few days. I texted Hazel if she could smell what I was smelling, and she quickly texted back that she didn't smell anything. It smelled like something was spoiled, so I called up maintenance for our apartment to have a look in the air vents to see if something managed to get in there and die. And as he walked past Hazel's room, the smell was really strong there. He knocked on her door and asked if he could come in, and she responded that she was busy but assured us both that she couldn't smell anything in her room and to check the rest of the air vents. This was the first time I had actually heard her voice. It was quite high-pitched, almost childlike, but I didn't think much of it at the time because some people are just born with voices like that. The maintenance guy confirmed he could smell an odor, but could not see anything in the vents. He suggested a test to see if there may be a gas leak in the apartment. He did that and the levels were normal. He then said that he would come back in the coming days to check to see if it is the plumbing. The oddest thing, though, has to be what I found in the kitchen sink just today, and what pushed me to make this post. Hazel was following the same routine. Leave at 2:30, come back at 6 o'clock, and not leave her room all day. When I went to go grab breakfast in the kitchen this morning, I noticed what looks like a human tooth. This freaked me out. I sent her a text with a picture of the tooth and asked her if this was a prank or something. She sent a laughing face emoji and said, "Of course." I asked her to come out and get it because it freaked me out, and she said she would do it later. At this point, a week in, the smell has only gotten worse and I am unsure of what to do next. I still haven't even had the chance to see her face and I can't help but feel like I've made a huge mistake with this roommate and that something freaky is going on here. Does anyone have any ideas? Any advice or tips would be appreciated. Due to a multitude of factors, including a recent death of a close friend, I was unbearably depressed at this time in my life. For that reason, my family flew across the country to visit me in LA, where I was living. We thought it would be nice to visit Catalina Island. When we arrived, it became apparent to us that it was the off-season. It was late November, the weather was cold, and as a result, the island was nearly empty besides locals and a few straggling tourists such as ourselves. Our first priority was to ditch our luggage so we could explore the island, so we immediately checked into our motel, though that word hardly does the place justice. I call it a motel because all the doors to the rooms exited to the outside, but in actuality, our room was one of 20 to 30 quaint guest house-looking buildings, arranged in sort of a horseshoe shape around a walkway, with rooms on either side of the path. The entrance to the motel was essentially one of the points of the horseshoe, and if you walked dead straight, you'd reach the room we were given, essentially on the corner before you have to go right to go further into the horseshoe. So from our room, one path leads back to the street, the other further into the secluded maze of rooms. Stay with me. After a day of exploring, and having just finished dinner, it was time for the cold, dark walk back to the room. Catalina Island is a decent distance from the mainland, and let me just say, it gets dark. Similarly dark was my headspace after the dinner conversation took a left-hand turn, and my overwhelming depression got the best of me. I pulled my black hoodie tighter over my freezing ears and walked ahead of my parents to the hotel room, telling them I just needed to go to sleep. And I did immediately. Depression sometimes makes that easy. I was already losing consciousness as they entered after me, drifting off without so much as a good night. I then woke up to my mom saying my name. A harsh whisper. The room had two beds. My parents' bed, closer to the door, and mine, further in the room. My mom's voice cut through the silence again. She sounded concerned for me. I didn't blame her, considering my mental state at the time. Groggy, I rolled over. What? I asked. As my eyes adjusted to the dim moonlight coming in through the curtains, I saw her turn to face me. She was surprised to see me in my bed. Her eyes got wide. If I'm in my bed, who was she talking to? We both looked back to where she was previously looking to see a hooded figure in all black standing over their bed. You can't really understand how horrifically startling it is to be on an island in the middle of the ocean and wake up to see a hooded stranger looming over you. This moment seemed to last forever. Life isn't like movies, where characters unleash a blood-curdling scream. Sometimes the only thing that comes out is something panicked and guttural. My mom's words became low and severe as she said my dad's name in a dire voice I've never heard her use before. Then the hooded figure did something so bizarre and unsettling, it didn't advance towards us, but instead, crouched in the corner near where it stood. The way it crouched was so absolutely unexpected, even in regards to this already unexpected situation, that it terrified me. It seemed animalistic. I knew two things: the hooded figure had been standing over us sleeping, and it's not acting in any sort of way that I can understand. As opposed to the infinite moment of this figure standing over us mere seconds ago, the series of events that unfolded when my hulking, ex-military dad woke up happened in an instant. Suddenly we were out the door, not knowing which way the intruder went. My mom was screaming, "Get him! Get him!" My dad was running down one path of the horseshoe, further into the hotel, shouting through sheer adrenaline, "I'm going to fucking kill you." I ran down the other path, towards the street. When I got there, not a sign of the intruder. My dad was walking back, breathing heavily. The intruder had managed to evade my dad with their head start. We went back and made sure to lock our door this time. Nothing else of notice happened during that trip. I still think about that incident to this day. I don't know if it was just some innocent person who stumbled into the wrong room, or if whoever they were had sinister intentions. I'll probably never find out, and that keeps me up at night.